Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Magic with Zuby. My name is Zuby, and if you're brand new to the show is all about a little well-known card game called Magic: The Gathering. So on today's episode, we brought on none other than Davie K, aka some people might know him as Coach Davie. He is a writer at Cool Stuff Games. He writes primarily about EDH, and he's also Magic: The Gathering's personal fitness trainer as well too. So brought him on, and we talked. I think almost the first hour was nothing but fitness related, and then we talk about so much other stuff: politics, magic, content creation, and so much more. Really great having him on, and I'm really excited that we finally got to have this chat about it. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed talking with him, and he was a really good guest and a really cool person altogether. So before we get into the interview, let's get a few announcements out of the way. If you are watching this or listening to this, this podcast is available on your favorite podcast app, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and Spotify. And you can find this on YouTube. Just search Magic with Zuby on YouTube. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at Magic with Zuby, on Instagram at magic_with_Zuby. And you can email me with any questions you may have at mtgzuby@gmail.com. Also, don't forget that I do stream Paper Commander at least 2 times a week, Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, I should say, and then Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern as well, too. And that is at twitch.tv/magicwithzuby. I need to get better at remembering that. Oh, and if you want to help support the show and the stream, patreon.com/magicwithzuby. We have that out there, so that's really cool. We've got a few people that are sub to it already, so awesome. So, yeah, I guess we just got 2 quick little ads, and then we'll just get right on to the interview. Oh, and I just hit my mic, because that's just how we do it. We're doing this live here.
Well, hey there, Zoe. Why the long face there, chum?
I just want to order some magic cards, but the shipping was too expensive.
Too expensive? Well, did you know if you go to legitmtg.com, you can order any magic cards, and anything over $2 or more has free shipping.
Wow, free shipping's at legitmtg.com. That's amazing.
You heard that right, Zoe. Free shipping at legitmtg.com with any order over $2 or more. Be sure to visit today and get the best deal on Magic singles and Magic sealed product available.
Wow, that's amazing!
And that is how you beat the latest standard meta with Abzan.
Ugh, it feels like there's no magic content out there for someone like me. Someone who doesn't want to be competitive. Someone who is...
Who is a normie?
Yeah, exactly! A normie!
Well, have I got the show for you, the all-new Magic for Normies show.
Hi, I'm Pixie.
And I'm Zuby.
Together, we host the all-new
Magic for Normies.
It is the Magic the Gathering show for all your normie needs. We don't care what deck got into the top 8 or what deck is winning. We care about having fun playing Magic.
That's right, Pixie. You can watch us on Pixie's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/PixieKittenPlays and catch the VOD on our YouTube channel, Pixie Kitten Plays. If audio is your thing, you can find episodes on the Magic with Zuby RSS feed.
Magic for Normies.
Alright, so yeah, we're doing this. We're live. Hey, Zuby here, and I've got Davie, aka you might as well know him as Coach Davie on Twitter. He's Magic the Gathering's personal trainer. And you are an EDH writer for Cool Stuff Inc. How's it going?
It is going well. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. I can't believe how fast today has gone. Like, I woke up at 7 a.m., streamed some EDH, and then I spent the rest of the morning putting together desks for my kids because they're starting school on Monday. And getting, like, their computers all set up and ready. Then I had to go to the store, pick up whatever remaining odds and ends I had to get, and then before I knew it, like, oh hey, it's time for our interview. Like, what the what the hell happened to today?
Yeah, that's it's crazy how time has just lost all meaning these last 6 months. It's like
it really has.
You'll have days that feel like they went by in 5 minutes, and then a day that feels like it takes 8 years. And then you look back and it's like, this has only been a week, and also how was it September already? Like, I don't know.
time feels really weird this year. I mean, like, I know there's always, you grow up, your concept of time is different, and
sure.
And you're always going to have days that just flow by. But yeah, this year with the pandemic and all that, concept of time is like bizarre.
Out the window.
Yeah. Like August is already over. Like
at this point, I go by the sun, which is weird that we've regressed. But it's just like I know what time of day it is by where the sun is. Otherwise, I'm just like who knows? Like when do I go to bed? When do I wake up? Why does it matter? It's just
So it
is what it is.
I've been working from home for over a year now for my job. So when the whole pandemic started, not much changed for me. But I also would travel for work, right? So I work for a national healthcare company doing IT. So, every so often we'd buy a hospital or something like that, and then I'd have to go in and do the IT stuff for that hospital. And that would be, I'd stay at home, but then every so often I'd have to travel. I have not traveled at all this year, and it's like driving me a little crazy because it'd be at least once a month or once every other month I'd be on a plane traveling for a little bit, and now I'm just we just exist. We're just here. Yeah, pretty much. It's it's going a little crazy. So, what do you do for a living? Is it the writing or the training or?
Yeah, so I was working at a gym here in Reno until right after we came back from lockdown, at which point I discovered that my ex-bosses were monsters. So I quit.
Oh, damn.
And and so I quit, and I've been that was when I kind of started shifting into working with Magic players as fitness coaching clients, and so that's been kind of where my focus has been. I'm not quite at the point yet where it's sort of become a full-time income. I'm getting there, but in the meantime, I'm kind of looking around for kind of part-time jobs and things like that. But for the most part, it's coaching, and then it's and then I write for, as you said, for Cool Stuff Inc. every week, so that takes some time, and then playing as much Magic as I can. I play Fortnite because I'm 36 going on 12, and
you're into Fortnite?
I am, yes.
Hey, it's what you're. It's I've tried to get into it. Like when it first came out, tried to get into it, but then I'm like, I'm not into battle royales. I've tried so hard to get into them.
That was the thing when I moved here, and I live with my two very good friends. I had given my roommate John crap for a long time about Fortnite. I'm like, oh, you play Fortnite. And then I moved in and I'm just watching him play, and I'm like watching him play, and I'm like, don't say it. And then can I try it? and then here we are. So it's like neither of us is particularly good. Yeah. But it's good dumb fun. And like the season the season that just came out the other day is all Marvel, so you get to run around as like Thor and She-Hulk and Doctor Doom and stuff.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, so like, and there was a Star Wars deal when Rise of Skywalker came out, and there's Aquaman was in there, Batman was in there. So like, there's this cool, really kind of off the wall stuff, and it's just go out and enjoy getting my ass handed to me by 12-year-olds in like Arizona because but again, we do what we have to do to pass the time. So
I want to ask you some questions about your personal training. What does that exactly entail? Like, so let's say I'm interested in your services, right? We're remote, right? I can't see you like physically. You can't see me physically.
Correct.
So how does that work? So if someone's who's interested in wanting to sign up, what do you do, or what do they do, and all that?
So the first thing to do is talk to me. The easiest place to find me is on Twitter. I'm Davie KUMD. And just say, hey, I'm curious, I think I might want to do something. What I'll ask you is, what do you want to do? Like, what is your goal? And that may seem like a really silly, obvious question, but it's not, because we have an image in our head when we think fitness, right? That it's all either people who want to get huge like bodybuilders or people who want to lose a ton of weight. And while it's true that, yes, there are a great many people who want to get big, there are a great many people who want to get small, the reality is the vast majority of people are in the middle. And it's not so much about losing weight or gaining muscle or whatever. It's about feeling better, right? It's like, well, I'm getting older and everything's achy and creaky and tight. And I just, I can't keep up with my kids the way I used to. I can't do that hike I want to do. I moved last weekend and it kicked my ass. And, it's really what it's about is just feeling better moving through the world every day. Like we're stuck with these bodies, barring some really great advances in science, we're stuck with these bodies and we don't get another shot. So, taking care of them now, whatever now is for you, will pay off later. And so once we kind of figure out what your goals are and what exactly you need my help with, because that can be different too, right? So like I'll have people who come to me and they're completely brand new, have never been active in their lives, right? They're going to need me to really hold their hand and show them how to do the movements and tell them how to breathe and tell them why we rest for this long and why we do this and why we do that, right? And then I'll also have people who are like, hey, I work out a lot, but like I can't get to my gym. It's closed, or I'm not comfortable in there or whatever. I just need structure. Can you put together something of structure that I can do at home, right? Sure. And that's another important point since we're talking about this. One of the big things I get, people will DM me and be like, well, I'd love to do this, but I don't belong to a gym or I don't have any equipment. I'm like, great. So neither does pretty much everybody else I'm working with. The reality is we can do a ton of stuff with our body weight and with random stuff we have lying around the house. And if you really get the itch and you really want to like take it to another level, a $30 set of resistance bands gives us a whole new toolbox.
Oh yeah.
A $20 exercise ball, a $15 medicine ball, $30 dumbbells you buy off Craigslist, whatever. That kind of stuff. So if you're thinking about this, whether it's in the context of working with a coach, with me, with anybody, yes, you can absolutely do this at home. And then from there, if somebody says, yeah, let's do it. Let's do some coaching. We'll dive really deep into the goals. We'll talk about nutrition, right? I don't write meal plans like eat this at this time because A, I'm not qualified and I don't like to do things I'm not qualified to do. And B, no one follows them. So it ends up being a waste of my time, a waste of their time. Right. Because ever since the one thing I wish all human beings could bond over is that we all hate being told what to eat. Like from the time we're 3 years old, we all have those things we don't like, and it doesn't matter why we don't like them. We just don't like them, and we're not going to eat them. Don't tell us to eat them. And so that kind of stuff, it doesn't work. So what we'll do is we'll look at kind of realistic things we can do to make the foods that we do like work better for us. If it's an issue about portion control, if it's an issue about eating too many calories, eating not enough calories, you'd probably fall out of your chair if I told you how many people were under eating and that's why they were gaining weight. Not getting enough protein, all that stuff. We dive into that. Then we'll put together a workout program and we'll walk through it. And here's what you're going to do. Here's why you're doing it. Here's how we progress it from here. Here's what happens when we hit a roadblock. Here's what happens when you really crush this thing and you're ready for more. And here's how it all fits into the context of your goal. And that's one thing that I think, what I see a lot, and because I was in this position before I started coaching for a living, is we're in an age where it's really easy to say, oh, I'll just Google it, or I'll just go on Instagram, or I'll find it on Facebook, whatever. As somebody who has spent a lot of time and invested a lot of energy and money into getting good at this, I can tell you get what you pay for. And what will happen if you're like, I'm going to Google it and do it alone, is you're going to find, you Google one thing, right? Like home workout. You're going to get 100,000 different results. And
even if you go to like bodybuilder.com, you're going to find 5 million things that
you're going to be paralyzed by indecision. You're going to be paralyzed by misinformation that you don't realize is misinformation. People like me get paid to do what we do because we know what we're doing. Speaking only for myself, I know there are bad coaches out there. I sure as heck hope I'm not one of them, but I know there are bad coaches out there who don't know what they're doing. I really take, I'm not perfect, but I take a lot of pride in really trying to do whatever I can to make sure that I'm guiding people the right way, and I'm guiding them the way that makes sense for them, right? It's like person A and person B probably don't have the same needs. They're probably not starting from the same place. And so it would be irresponsible of me to give A and B the same thing and say, go to town, I'll see you in a month. That's not how we do it. Like, I'm in contact. You've got me as a resource. I got your back. I'm cheering you on. I'm telling you, no, that actually is a good thing. Look at all that progress you made. Here's how we step it up, whatever. And then we just sit back and, well, not sit back because you're working out, but sit back and watch the progress come in. And it's a really, really cool thing to see. I had one client just today who said, he's almost at, he'll like by middle of this week, he'll be under 300 pounds for the first time in as long as he can remember.
Wow. That's like, awesome.
I live for that. And like, it's so funny because he and a bunch of clients like, why are you so excited about this? I'm like, because this is why I do it. Like, if I was in this to get rich, I'd be in the wrong field, because that's not what we do. We're despite what you see on Instagram, despite what you see in fitness magazines and crap like that, we're not living, this is not a get rich quick thing. You're in this because you care. And I care. And like, I've been where these people are. And that's why, especially, I'm happy to be working with Magic players, because I think there's a lot of a very great sense among Magic players and gamers of all stripes, nerds and geeks of all stripes, that this is not our world. We don't belong there. We can't have that. Oh yeah. Yes, you absolutely can. Like, if I'm not proof of that, I don't know what is, because I'm the biggest dork in the world. And I was not athletic growing up. I didn't play sports. I sat in my room and played, not Magic, because I made really bad choices, but I played the Star Wars card game against myself on Saturday nights. Dusted off my action figure collection, watched Star Trek on reruns, and that was me, and that's still me. And this, if being healthy and having a good relationship with your body is for everybody, and that is at the core of what I do. Is that I know that the society that we're in today makes us feel like we shouldn't be here. And yes, you absolutely should. If you want it, you should be here. You can have it, and people like me are around to help you get it. So
and I think one of the biggest stigmas, especially going to the gym, I mean, besides the whole coronavirus thing, is just, like you said, people not feeling like they belong. People are going to judge you and all that.
And I'll let you in on a little secret with that, because I was absolutely that way. Because I, like everybody, many, many times over, joined the gym on New Year's Day, went once, never went back. Or joined when there was a sale, went twice, never went back, right? We've all done that. And I had that very same thought, right? Like, everybody's going to be looking at me. I'm just going to be this pudgy guy who doesn't know what he's doing. And that guy's, bench pressing a Buick, and I'm just, I can't do anything. The truth is, nobody's paying attention. Everybody's got their headphones on. Everybody's in their own little world. Everybody kind of glances around just because we're like robots and we detect activity. But that's it. No one cares.
As long as you're not being a jerk or being loud, or taking up equipment. That's one of my most annoying things of it.
if you're the guy or gal who likes to do a circuit of everything in the gym and claim every machine and every free weight as your own, please get out of my face, because that's when I'll lose it. I'm a very calm, very level-headed, very easygoing guy, but I had that guy at my gym in Seattle, and it was just like, I was so happy when I started working there, as opposed to just being a member there, that I could actually tell him, like, hey, stop being a jerk.
Wow.
And he's
nice.
And I'm like, So anyway, yeah, it's that's one of the things that really that I work really, really hard to try and convey to people, is that, I understand what the stigmas are, and I understand that there's a very real intimidation going into this process, into the environment of a commercial gym. I get it, because again, I've been there, but the reality is that there is unless you have happened upon a really crappy gym, and those do exist.
Yep.
There's no reason to feel like you don't belong there. You pay the same money everybody else does, and you have every right to be there. Now, you may not be an expert yet. You may not know exactly what you're doing, but that's okay. No one's an expert when they start either. Everybody started somewhere. Believe it or not, these bodybuilders, these models, these actors and actresses were not born with abs coming out of the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had to work for this. Just same way everybody else did. And so I think once people can kind of wrap their head around that, the whole idea becomes a lot less intimidating and scary and unsettling, which I know it can be, but I'm here to tell you there's no reason for it to be. It's not real, I promise.
So question for you, are you currently going to a gym right now?
I am, yes. I have. So gyms have been hit and miss with how they're complying with all of the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
That is what led me to leave working at the gym that I was working at. Is that my bosses were not at all interested. They didn't believe this was a thing, and they didn't understand why there were restrictions at all. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stand here and get killed. So
yeah.
But the gym that I ended up joining is doing a really good job making sure that everybody's not just following, the bare minimum, but also like that nobody's doing anything that is like egregiously creating problems. They're making sure people are taking their space. We're making sure we're wearing masks when we need to wear masks. I've been in there almost every day for the last month, and I've never not seen somebody cleaning. And so I think that's really a key. If you already belong to a gym and you're not sure whether you should go back, or if you're thinking about joining one, is, the COVID stuff is real. And I don't believe there's any reason to believe that a gym is I will say, I don't think a gym's nearly as dangerous as a restaurant is right now. But if the gym is clearly not taking it seriously, if the employees aren't even wearing masks, if people are right on top of each other, if people are sweating all over each other, if nobody's cleaning anything, if there's no wipes around for you to use to clean down your stuff, then maybe it's time to look elsewhere. But if you walk into a gym and you can see that they're making sure that distancing is happening, they're making sure that mask guidelines are being enforced, then it's on your comfort level. And again, that's the thing. It's on your comfort level. And if you're not comfortable going to a gym right now, that's super okay. That's why we can do things at home. So, keep that in mind as well. It's easy to be like, well, I really want to do this. I really want to, get fit, but I can't go to a gym, so I can't do it. Like, no, you can. Got to get creative, but you can do it.
Yeah.
It's really, and I will say this, if you're in a state or a city or a part of the world where they're just not letting gyms open yet, probably for the best. Because again, I don't think gyms are more dangerous than restaurants are right now. But if gyms aren't open, I'll guarantee the restaurants aren't open. And so, this is a weird, bizarre, frustrating time that we live in. But we gotta play the hand we're dealt, and that's where we have to get creative with stuff. But at the end of the day, that's going to be a decision for each person, how comfortable they are about what they're seeing at that particular gym. And I can say with really strong confidence, if I wasn't fully comfortable, I wouldn't be there. Because it's not worth it. Like I've got goals that I have, and I've made really great progress, and I got good momentum, and I'm not going to sacrifice. Like, I'm not going to put myself at risk of death for that.
So let me ask you this. So you going back to the gym, and you're wearing a mask going to it. The thing that I think I'd be worried about the most going back to a gym would be the free weights, because no one obviously most of the time washes those down. Like, the machines, you always make sure you wipe everything down with there when you're done. But what about free weights? I
was like this before, and I'm even more so now. The very first thing I do once I go in and I put my stuff in my cubby and I turn my headset on and I'm ready to go is I go and I grab a wipe and then I spray it again with more disinfectant stuff. And I will use that to wipe everything I touch before I touch it. Benches,
That makes
dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, machine attachments, machine seats, cardio equipment, medicine balls, anything. Because frankly, right now we cannot trust each other in any environment. But as you said, people have historically not been great about wiping down things like benches and free weights versus machines. So I will say I have noticed a lot more people getting better at it, but I think there's a lot of people have a lot of bad habits to kind of unlearn. So for me, I have to make sure that I'm taking it into my own hands. I wipe it down before I pick it up.
Makes sense.
I wipe it down again right when I put it down, so the next person has it clean. And that's because I think I can't control what everybody else does, but I can control what I do. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I'm doing my part.
Makes sense. Hey, so I got a question for you. This is more of a personal question.
Sure.
And I'm just more curious. I have trouble lifting weights, and that's due to my carpal tunnel in both my hands, especially pretty bad on my right hand. So that means like my grip is shit. So my right hand especially, I noticed, let's say I'm doing working on my biceps and I'm trying to do curls. After a while, like no matter what kind of weight, could be even 5 pounds, I notice like excruciating pain. And that even with wearing a wrap, it's like here, all in here. So even with wearing a wrap and all that, a stent, or not like a stent, but more like, to try to keep my wrist splint. Try to get my wrist aligned. The only thing I've been told to like even really get that fixed is surgery.
I mean, it's going to depend on whether there's structural damage or not.
That's true.
If there is, then it probably is surgery. Or it's also it also could be physical therapist territory, to where they are trained to be. Believe it or not, it is outside of my scope of practice to like if you ever see somebody who's like stretching somebody out at a gym, like physically pulling their legs up and stuff, that person had better be a physical therapist or a massage therapist or orthopedist or whatever.
Okay.
Because trainers are not qualified to do that.
Really?
Yeah. I will say I have the certification that I have is pretty much the gold standard for the industry, and the textbook went out of its way. That was a question on the exam, was like true or false, you can stretch a client out, and it was like false. So like I wouldn't be able to like grab your hand and like start like, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this hurt? I would say that without knowing exactly what's going on in there, your best bet probably would be to see a doctor and get some x-rays and see what's going on in there. If all things being equal, and I understand that in this case all things are not equal, I've had issues with my wrist, not to that extent. I broke my right wrist when I was a kid. And it gives me trouble every now and again. But one thing that I have done that's been really helpful for me is to just do so if I would rest this like on my shins or whatever, I would have an extremely lightweight, like I'm talking 2-3 pounds here, and just use my fingers and my forearm muscles to curl up like this.
Okay.
That really helps. And then you do the same thing from this position where you flip it over and do it like this.
That's interesting.
And then the other one is to grab, again, an exceptionally light dumbbell, like this, like you grab it by the bell part, and then you kind of just go, you rotate the wrist over and then bring it back.
So is that really trying to build up the muscles around here on your forearm, or the tendons?
It's stability and strength for those connective tissues and those little muscles that are in here. Yeah. Because like when when we do a deadlift or when we do a barbell curl or whatever, our forearms get work. Our forearms get work a lot.
Yeah.
You really don't ever have to like do a forearm workout. That's unless you're legitimately trying to bodybuild. our forearms get work, but they also, and the wrist joints, again, especially with what you do for a living and similar to what a lot of people do for a living, typing all day, the wrist joints and the connective tissues around them can take a pounding, and years and years and years of that can do damage. So there are things you can try, but at the end of the day, my absolute default, and if I'm being responsible, is if it hurts, go see a doctor. Because once it gets to the point of it hurts, then it's out of my realm, because that's not, I don't diagnose and I don't treat, because
perfectly understand. Yeah.
And I say that not so much to you, but to anybody who's seeing this, because again, I've seen plenty of trainers who are just trainers like me. You know, you may have a corrective exercise certification, you may have whatever. You're not a doctor unless you have an MD or whatever letters for orthopedist or whatever. But unless you have a medical doctorate, you're not a doctor. You don't treat. That's it. So, and keep that in mind, because I've heard way too many horror stories of people saying, well, look, my trainer did this to me and told me to do that. And I'm like, well, they should never have done that. So
that's scary. That's scary out there. No, it's, thank you for that. It's pretty much, I've already gotten x-rays on it before, and I need surgery for it. But, I was just curious if there was anything else, because that surgery is, since it's elective and, thanks to American healthcare, it's too fucking expensive for me to even attempt to get it, unless it's to the point where to where I can't work anymore. So it's been one of those frustrating things for me, because it's back when I used to work out a lot, like go to the gym a lot a couple of years ago. That'd be one of the most frustrating things. Like there'd be some days I just have to skip arm day altogether, because it's like,
you just can't do it.
It's like I'm literally struggling to lift 5 pounds. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm getting mad, and
right.
So
and that's and I will say I empathize, because an injury is the easiest, worst, crappiest way to stop your momentum right in its tracks. So that's why everything I do is meant with, again, I'm not a doctor, but I am very much a first do no harm. Like, whoever, I say this, I make this joke a lot, but whoever, I would like to travel back in time, like Quantum Leap, and shoot in the face whoever said no pain, no gain for the first time, because this is not supposed to hurt. And when it hurts, and when it hurts, you need to stop.
I wish I took that. I wish I took this, because I used to be heavy into martial arts when I was a teenager. I used to. I mean, I know I don't look the body right now, but when I was young, I used to be very acrobatic. Being able to do like all those flips and all that kind of shit. And
so just a quick digression on that, because I never get this pitch to hit. So I was 9 years old when Power Rangers came out for the first time, and as of today that we're doing this, yesterday was Power Rangers Day, because it was the anniversary of the premiere.
Oh, okay.
Which I remember very well. And I was not acrobatic or athletic in any way as a kid, as I mentioned. So I, right around that time, my mom was like, well, you like this Power Rangers crap, and I want to like do something. Let's go do Kung Fu together. I was like, yes! And we did it for like a year. And then I, as 13-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds do, got bored and didn't do it again. And I'm mad, because all I've ever wanted to be able to do is put on that spandex Power Ranger suit and do a whole bunch of back handsprings and like roundhouse kicks and stuff.
Why didn't I ever do that? Because, I mean, I liked Power Rangers, but I never thought of actually getting a suit and being able to do that. But no, I wanted to bring up that no pain, no gain, because all the stupid shit that my friends and I would do, because we want to be tough like Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, and let's do, fucking knuckle push-ups on concrete or like pavement or on asphalt, let's punch trees and shit, because
that's how you prove how tough you are.
Punch trees. But when you're a teenager, you're dumb like that.
It makes total sense. Of course,
we're gonna kick trees to show how tough we are,
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I've spent a lot. I've been on fitness Instagram for the last over 3 years. And I can tell you that if you think Magic Twitter's bad, you haven't seen fitness Instagram, because that is a whole different.
Do I even want to?
Whole different circle of hell.
Do I even want to know, or do I even want to see it?
Absolute jackassery that you will see from these people. It's you'll see these people who are like, the picture is them with like blood spilling out of their nose, and the caption's like, yeah, I got a nosebleed on like the first rep, but I cranked out 12 more. And I'm like, with a pool of your own blood at your feet, I don't give a shit how many deadlifts you did. Your face was leaking. You're an idiot. Shut the fuck up. So that's the thing. That's another thing that I think is unfortunate, because even still, you know, without naming names, there are styles of fitness and trademarked ways of doing things that cross over the fitness world, if you will.
Oh, that fitting while crossing.
It's something to that effect, right? Where they're reached, and it's gotten better because it had to, because people were legitimately dying, but they're reached that point where the fetishization of nearly dying working out had gotten out of control, and that has not gone away, and it's really, really dangerous. So one thing I would say to anybody who either has never really done this before, or it's been a while, or you're doing something really basic and you're trying to step it up, please don't overdo it. And in any way, like if you're somebody who's walking a mile a day, please don't try to run a 10K tomorrow. It's not going to go well for you.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who's doing basic body weight strength movements on the living room floor, please don't go and hop into a SchlossFit class tomorrow, because it's not going to go well for you.
So you mean them trying to do, oh God, what do they call those pull-ups? Those where they do like 100 pull-ups
muscle
and
ups?
Yeah,
the muscle ups where you go up and then you
sort of swing your body.
Yes, those are fine.
Well,
okay,
no. I always love seeing those, because people like, oh, I can do 100 of those in like 5 minutes. I'm like, no, let's see you do real pull-ups. All right.
Okay, well, you can't do 100 of them in 5 minutes.
I know.
And I get the same stuff all the time. the thing about training in any context is that it's almost never the movements that are the problem. The movements 9 times out of 10 are sound. It's the context. It's, are you using the appropriate weight? Are you using the appropriate tempo? Mm-hmm. Are you doing a movement that you are able to do? And what I mean by that is, just because you can pick a barbell off the ground without falling over and dying doesn't mean you're ready to do a clean and jerk with your body weight going over your head. These things have to be worked up to, and you have to train to do these things. And I think that is I think we've seen that a lot with, back when you remember when like P90X was the thing.
Oh yeah.
And that was marketed as being very tough and a very tough home workout. And like, it was too tough for most people. And they didn't care, because they got your money. Even if you put the DVD in once and never watched it again, they got your money. As a coach, I believe 40,000% in starting low and going slow. That's how I did it. That's how everybody I know who's done great things has done it. You start where you are right now, and you work one thing at a time to get to wherever you're going. Don't try to skip pages. Don't try to cut corners, because you're going to get hurt. And we don't want to get hurt. It's the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to feel better, not trying to kill ourselves. People always make that joke. They're like, oh, you're going to kill me. I'm like, fun fact, it's really bad for business when I kill the clients. Like, I get really, the word of mouth goes sour, and Yelp reviews go down. Like, it's true though. Like, it is my job to, if I'm doing my job well, I am doing everything I can to make sure you walk out of every session and over the long term feel better, not worse. If I get you hurt, that's the worst thing I can do. And so I go out of my way to make sure you don't get hurt. And that's really, really something I think people need to keep in mind, because it's so easy to be tempted by what we see out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of those athletes can do that stuff because they've been training years and years and years and years intentionally for it.
Yeah.
Any implication that you can walk in off the couch and do it, as long as you pay your money first and the credit card goes through, is false, and it's irresponsible and it's dangerous. So
yeah.
I think it's really important to acknowledge where you are when you're starting something like this, and understand that magic. I've been using this magic metaphor.
Yeah.
Fitness is not a game of modern or legacy or vintage where it's turn 0 combos and the game's over before you know it. Magic is a 14 turn, grinded out, beer night EDH game where there's 13 board wipes and you're casting your commander for the 9th time and somebody's at 300 life and how is this guy still alive? That's what we're doing. It is a slog. It is one almost excruciating bit of progress at a time. It's land go turn 1, not land crypt mox soul ring signet blah blah blah.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. That's not how it works. It is land go, land little creature go, land another little creature, swing for 1, go. This is how we do it. It is one thing at a time, but we build, if you think about it again, you think about a long game of Commander, you look back and it's like, man, who would have thought that countering that spell on turn 2 changed everything? Or who would have thought that 1-drop creature ended up being my MVP, right? That's how this goes, where you look back and you're like, man, I started with 1 push-up. I couldn't do 1. And now I just did 50 and my wedding dress fits again, or whatever it is, right? Like that's how we do it. So
nice.
This is why I like talking about fitness and working with Magic people, because I get to mix my metaphors.
And it's fun.
People get it now.
Yeah.
Because like when I worked at gyms with like normies, I'd be like, I play this game called Magic, and there's this thing, and they'd just look at me like, shut up.
What are you talking about?
And I'm like, okay. sorry, ma'am. Sorry. But yeah, it's a long, to borrow a cliche, which I hate, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It really is.
So let me ask you this, with personal training, is there, especially with what you do and from what you know of others, are there like specialties, in terms of, yes. So like you could be, all right, I'm going to specialize in like weightlifting. Someone else is specializing maybe in nothing but cardio exercises or calisthenics or something like that.
Yeah. So there are, so anybody who's a certified personal trainer obviously is certified. They better be. If they're claiming to be, they better be. So the organization that I'm certified through is called NASM. And like I said earlier, it's pretty much the gold standard. It's like, if you have a NASM certification, you can work at any gym in the country. And NASM, like other organizations as well, offers a whole bunch of, so you get certified, you take an exam, you get certified, and that lasts for 2 years. Then you have to get recertified. So mine is actually up in a couple of months. And in order to get recertified, I don't take the exam again. I have to have done continuing education. And that can take different forms. You can just consume like little bits and drips and drafts, or NASM and a lot of others, and a lot of other organizations offer additional certifications. So you can do corrective exercise, you can do behavior modification, you can do, you can get a nutrition certification, which again, you're still not a dietitian, but you're closer. You can get certifications for working with special populations like the aged, or kids, or people with disabilities. You can get certifications for, as you said, for powerlifting. You can get certified in actual sports, like strength and agility stuff for athletes. You can get, there are all kinds of specialties and different strengths and different areas of study that each of us has. And so that's another reason why, like, I'm not going to sit here and be naive or arrogant enough to be like, I am everybody's trainer and no one should ever hire anybody but me.
Yeah.
You should always conceive what your options are. And if there's somebody who's a better fit for you than me on any level, go hire them. I want you to succeed. Like, I don't, I'm not going to be a fit for everybody. Everybody's not going to be a fit for me. I've had more than one person where I've had to say, look, I would love to take your money, but I can't help you. And here's why. And I said, it would just be wrong of me to take you on because I know I can't do what you're asking me to do. And so, yeah, there are, and the longer you do this, the more you kind of rack up these things. And so I actually, I have the continuing education units I need to get recertified. I just have to like pay them the money and do the process. But I think I am going to actually try and get another certification in the near future, just because I like learning and I like knowing more stuff and I like being able to help a broader segment of the population. So I haven't decided yet exactly which one I want to do, but there are lots of different you'll find, like, I'm sort of you would call me a general population trainer, and there are definitely coaches and trainers who specialize in different styles of training or different populations or different needs or whatever. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff all over the spectrum. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any plans for maybe going to school one day for any kind of sports medicine or anything like that? Or
I've thought about that, and if I were to do it, it would probably be to be a physical therapist. And I waffle because undeniably, there's the potential for a much better financial living being a physical therapist than being a trainer. But at the same time, there are a lot of similarities between PT physical therapists and PT personal trainers. I hate that they're the same initials because everybody gets confused. But there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. And I think for me, I like about my job that I get to stay engaged with clients for a really long time. Whereas with physical therapists, you tend to see people only for as long as their insurance lets them, which is usually a few weeks or a few months.
And isn't at that point they're patients too? Also.
They are, yes. And then you send them out the door and you probably never see them again.
Go on to the next. Yep.
Right. And I one of my mentors passed this phrase on to me, and it's absolutely true. The goal of every coach is for the client is to get it to the point where our clients fire us eventually because they don't need us anymore. But that takes different amounts of time for different clients and depends on the goals and depends on where you're starting from and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any ambition to ever get like a doctorate and like be a doctor of any kind.
Yeah.
Because blood and stuff. And I'm not good with math, if we're being really honest. But that is something that I have noodled about a lot.
Yeah.
And it's I never say never. I've learned better than that. But yeah, it's a possibility. Well, I mean,
Awesome.
We'll see. I don't know. My best answer is yes, I have thought about it. No, I have no idea if I'm going to do it.
Awesome. So how long have you been a writer for Cool Stuff now?
That has been, well, let's see, 25. Sorry about that. Hold on.
No, that's all right.
It has been just over 6 months now.
Okay.
I started with them right before quarantine, so it was early March. Was my first article for them.
Nice. Have you ever actually visited Cool Stuff or anything?
I have not. I have not been to Florida in a very long time. I'm an East Coast kid. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and like I've been to Disney World, and I went to Jacksonville to see my college football team play in the Gator Bowl. It was really bad.
Yeah, Jacksonville is not that great.
No, it was not.
No.
Saw some spring training games and that kind of thing, but it's been 15 years since I've been to Florida. So
and you're not missing much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even miss home that much. Like, I miss home, I miss my family.
Yeah.
But like, I go home and I'm home for a day and a half, and I'm like, I'm good. This is plenty. I can go back now.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. How long have you been doing content for?
That's oh Jesus, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's a hard question to answer because I only started playing Magic 4.5 years ago.
4.5 years. So what? Right before Kaladesh came out or something, or
Shadows over Innistrad came out the weekend I played my very first game.
Okay, so yeah, that would have been right before Shadows and Eldritch.
That was Shadows block was before Kaladesh block. Yeah, I bought the shit out of Kaladesh block because I knew what I was doing and bought everything.
It was a good set.
It was, and it's great for Commander.
Oh my god, yeah.
But so I'm fairly new to the game. I would say that my first sort of foray into content was it would have been late winter, early spring. Oh shoot, sorry. Late winter, early spring of 2019. So Olivia Gobert Hicks, who is on the CAG and queen of the Commander world. She is one of the friends that I live with. I live in her house with her and her husband.
Okay. You even live there right now, or?
Livy is upstairs on Jeremy Noel's stream right now, and John is waiting for me to play Fortnite. So, and the dogs are probably whining for dinner. So when Livy started her stream, it was me and her and John and our friend Joe, because we had been playing over webcam for months because John and Livy moved out of Seattle to come down to Reno, and Joe and I were both still in Seattle. And so this was our way of playing together. And this was before Webcam Commander was on anybody's radar. And so one day we were playing and she's like, I have this Twitch stream that I don't really use that much. Should we stream our games? I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like, nobody's going to give a shit about us goobers playing Magic together, but we think we're pretty funny. So, I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, her stream is like blown up, which is awesome.
So that was how that stream started, was the four of us. And then over time we, as Livy became a bigger deal in the community, obviously now it's become, it is absolutely the EDH stream that I think really changed the game. To be fair, others have been doing similar things. But
yeah, like Lexicon have been doing theirs for a while.
Lexicon's been around, and I am absolutely in love with the boys at Lexicon. They're played
great
with them a bunch.
Yeah.
When the world stops ending, I'm going to drive over and play with them in the studio. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Olivia was telling me about their studio. Because I was in her pod during Command Fest last weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And she and I were talking. And she mentioned that like their studio is like they've got their own like little studio office they rent out, and I thought it was all in like someone's room at their house or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
like,
super legit,
full-fledged office. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you know what I think? I think what and I love that they are. It's one of the things I love about them. I love a lot of things about them, but they are super like on top of it, very professional.
Yeah, their production is great. Like,
it's fantastic. When we started on Livy's stream, we were the lowest of rent productions you could get. Like, it was John and Livy were playing on the same table with an iPad suspended from the ceiling fan.
That's awesome.
I had my laptop stuck in between cases of Coke Zero with the camera pointed down at my playmat, and because of how my living room was set up, I had to play sideways. So like,
Wow.
everything was sideways for 9 months until I moved. And then Joe was the only one who had an honest to God webcam. We were like, oh, I mean, so it was like.
Oh, that's great.
It was 6 months before we got life totals on the screen. It was God knows how long before we got like anything that resembled professional, and we loved that. Like we were like, look, and the whole point of it was, and I think this is what kind of got the light bulb going when quarantine came around, is like, look, we're not using professional equipment. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Get 3 other friends who have cameras of any kind that can even remotely see the board, and whether you stream it or not, go play it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That's what we were doing before Spell Table became a thing. My little Discord community, you know, we were like, all right, let's play over Discord. Right, and it was like the worst looking setup ever.
That's how we started. That was how we did. We were playing over Discord. Yeah,
and then
absolute trash.
And then
absolute trash.
Yeah, and one of my one of the people in my stream, I think he's actually one of your clients, Baltan. I think gave me the idea to start streaming it, and I'm all like, okay. And then Spell Table came around and
crushing it. By the way,
awesome, good. I'm glad to hear that. He is a very awesome person.
He is. Yes. But yeah, Spell Table, Spell Table was born out of necessity, and now Wizards has bought it, which scares the hell out of me because I'm sure it's going to become a paid thing at some point. But
yeah,
it's
oh, sorry.
Livy and I and John and we're all friends with Scott Larrabee, who's on the RC and who works for Wizards. And every time we're talking to him, we're just like, oh yeah, I can't wait for Spell Table to cost us $9.99 a month. And he's just like, because that's not his call at all. But we have to,
yeah. You have to give him jabs.
He knows that, like, he knows by now that, like, he's our resident. Like, we're gonna make our Wizards jokes and poke him. And
it was funny.
Like a good sport.
Olivia was actually talking to me about that. She was asking me, like, so how do you like Spell Table? Like, how do you stream on that and all that? And she was telling me like how you guys do it over Zoom and all that. And it's funny because I remember telling her right before we go live, like, oh yeah, I've had no issues with Spell Table. It's been fine. It's been fine for me. Literally the next time I stream, and ever since then, Spell Table has been acting really crappy. And I know, I know causation doesn't equal correlation and all that, but it's like ever since then, I'm either having 1 to 2 people constantly dropping out, which I never had that problem before. And I even have a brand new computer now. My bandwidth is upgraded. I'm actually utilizing less bandwidth. And I even look at my computer, my task manager, make sure nothing's going crazy, utilizing less bandwidth. My computer is 1,000 times better than it was before. Still having people starting to drop out, and all of a sudden Spell Table can barely find the cards, like when I'm trying to double click. So I'm like, I know that doesn't mean it's turning to crap, but it's just something's going on with it lately. Maybe it's because there's more people using it and the servers are starting to.
And I think that's an important thing for people to remember. And that Spell Table still is something that is made by people on their own time.
Oh yeah.
They eventually set up a Patreon, and now they, obviously now Wizards has stepped in, but this was very much a labor of love. And I think in our 2020 brains, it's just like, well, why doesn't this thing work that I'm paying nothing for? Why doesn't it work perfectly? I think we all have to remember that like, be more mad if the thing you're paying for doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And
Arena.
It's
sorry.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I think, again, what I think is really the cool thing that I've noticed, especially in the last 6 months during quarantine, but over the last year and a half that I've been in Magic in any sort of serious way, is everybody, there are so many voices out there, and Livy's hella popular, but Livy's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm a wee baby content creator, and there's people who love me, and there's people who've never heard of me, and there's people who don't like me, and that's all fine. And there are voices everywhere. You can find that 1 or 2 or 10 that you really click with, and you can, and you'll build. Everyone will build those like really dedicated communities. And I think it's easy, and I know you can empathize with this. You know, we exist in a realm where, you know, the Livies and the Profs and the PKs of the world are, it's just like, oh man, like you feel like you're looking up at like a 50-foot statue. And the truth is, they're human beings. I know, because I live with one. They're human beings. They got where they are because they're good at what they do, and they worked really consistently on people like them. Not everybody's going to get to that level, and that's okay. Like, there's room for everybody at every level. And I, as you know, as I was really starting to get into content creation, I struggle with that. I think a lot of us do. Where it's like, well,
sure.
I wrote one article. Why am I not being invited to, you know, pre-releases yet?
Yeah,
like,
right.
We again, 2020, we just think, well, if I put it out there, now I'm a celebrity. And it's like, no, that's not.
Oh yeah, that's something I've talked about a lot on this podcast and with other people.
What I've really come to peace with is do what you like, do what you do because you love it, and everything else that comes with it is a bonus.
Oh yeah.
And honest to God, that is a 100% corollary with fitness. We focus on the process. We don't focus on the outcome because we can't control outcomes. We can control the process. And we control the process, and we focus on that, and we really control that, and then the outcomes come. And the same is true with content creation. The same is true if you're trying to be, you know, a pro Magic player, if you're trying to become a better deck builder, a better this, a better that, whatever. Just do it because you love it and because you have a passion for it, and whatever comes from it is gravy. Because if all you're focused on is the gravy, you're gonna be disappointed.
No, and that's a really good outlook to have because and that's good advice too, because I've talked about this a lot of times on my podcast, and it's something that is, you know, it's especially when you're newer, like you said, you put out an article, you put out a video, or you start streaming, and it's like, oh, why aren't I popular yet? And it's like people don't understand, like it takes a long time for one, it either takes a long time, you know, a lot of grinding for people to even start noticing you, or you could just be extremely incredibly lucky that some bunch of people saw you at the right time at the right place, and boom. It's,
you know, there are so many things at play. There's luck, there's timing. I mean, look, let's be honest. I was one of them. All of us thought when quarantine started we were going to be the next, you know, 50,000 follower content creator because we had all this time on our hands. So of course, we all thought that. It didn't pan out for anybody really, and of course it didn't, because that's not how it works. It's you know, what I've found, I write because I like writing, and because I love Magic, I love writing, and it's something I can put two passions of mine together. And I've been really fortunate that I'm compensated now for it.
That's awesome.
But even if I wasn't, I'd still do it because I like it. And I did it because I liked it, and that led to an opportunity to get compensated for it. And now I do it because I love it, and I put it out there, and I've done 25 articles and yada, yada, yada. And every week I see more people coming in. They're like, oh, I just stumbled across your article. This is great. Or I think you're an idiot and shut the fuck up. I'm like, okay, thanks for reading, you know? That's how it works. And, you know, I have long since put to bed any delusions that I'm going to, you know, be standing there in that echelon with game nights and Command Zone and Tolarian Community College and Pleasant Kenobi and my roommate. Like that's okay. And that's okay. I don't have to be.
Yeah.
I don't have to be. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I love it. And at any point, if that stops being the case, I'll stop doing it. And I'll be super okay with that. I've walked away from jobs, I don't know how many times, because they didn't work for me anymore and making me feel worse than they were making me feel good. I'll do that with this too. And that's, life's too short, man. I mean, it's just, I've seen, you know,
That's a good
streamers
way.
of all
I love that you put
games
that.
and
Yeah.
realms that it become, the burnout is so real, and it's like at that point, what are you doing?
I love that
Like,
you said life is too short. I literally just had an episode about that a couple months ago. And I think a lot of it came off where it was one of my solo episodes where I just started talking about, because in the past I'd never really bring up politics or, you know, other stuff like that, stuff about diversity or race or anything like that. But especially like during this whole Black Lives Matter movement, I have been bringing up more and more on the podcast. And I think there was, once again, something dumb happening on Magic Twitter, and I just kind of got fed up, and I just started talking about, you know, life is too fucking short to worry about this shit. You guys are worrying about something that in the long run does not matter, yet you don't want to actually focus on issues that do matter to the world, like, you know, Black Lives Matter and, you know, whatever else. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Oh god, and you know, you mentioned Magic Twitter and just how frustrating it can be. Oh my gosh, Wizards just released another $10 booster pack. Okay, but that's not really the end of the world. You know, it sucks,
No,
but it's
and you know, and that's part and parcel of the time we live in. But I think you're absolutely right. Is that, you know, all of these things, it just comes back to, we get one life. If we're really lucky, that's 80, 90 years. What are you going to do with that? Like, how much of that are we going to spend just being pissed at the clouds?
Pissed and miserable, right? It's
like, I get, and at the same time, feel your feelings. And if you're mad about something, you probably have a reason. Just don't live in it. Like, you know, take that moment.
That's important. Yeah. Right. Don't live in it. Yeah. That's good.
Like, I get mad about Wizards and their bullshit all the time, and I talk about it on Twitter with I have zero filter. I'll call Wizards out 8 days a week and twice on Sunday. But then I move on, because like, you have to. Like, it's you know, like, look, I get it. I want cheaper fetch lands too, but if I have to see one more tweet or video about reprinting fetch land, we know, they know, everybody knows. And so that's the kind of thing where it's like, express your opinion by all means, as long as you're respectful and not a bigoted asshole. Respect your opinion. Get that out of your system, exhale, and then move the hell on. Because one day you look back and you think, how many weeks and months worth of time did I spend mad on Twitter? And what the hell did that get me? And how many weeks and months of time did I spend mad because content creator Bob over there and content creator Susie over here are more popular than I am? Or they got invited to this and I didn't, or this and none of it matters. None of it matters. The internet points aren't redeemable for cash. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like, and that's such an important thing you bring up, because and I've been, the past few months, I've been trying to practice this more, is staying off social media. Like still going on it, but I'm trying to not be on it as much, especially like during early on in the pandemic. You know, I think all of us, the whole world was on social media and just going crazy and saying,
what else were we gonna do?
And who the fuck knows what's gonna happen, right? But now that, you know, especially like late June, early July, it's like I've been trying my best to stay off it more, because I feel like it's really helped my mental health with it too.
Yes,
because there are serious side effects of being on social media all the time, where you just like you said, you inevitably find yourself getting jealous because Davie here got invited to Command Fest and I didn't, or Davie got flown out to game nights and I didn't, you know, and just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just you're gonna
and because that's been me. And then you have that moment of clarity where you're like, what this person's doing has nothing to do with me. Yeah. There's no competition. It wasn't a value judgment. It wasn't like, well, we could invite this random guy who some people know, or this one with 35,000 followers. we'll go with that. It's not like that. Like, it's like, the other thing that really just drives me up a wall is just when people dogpile on each other on Twitter, especially. I'm not counting Reddit in this because Reddit, as far as I'm concerned, is a horrific trash fire that I don't even acknowledge its existence. But on Twitter, you'll see this where, big deal person, player, streamer, writer, whoever they are, makes a mistake or says something that doesn't come out great or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's like one of those movie scenes where all of the bad guys come out of the dark alley and attack the hero.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, so we're really going all the way back to 5th grade on the school on the school playground. And this is what we're doing. Like, I will say this, when people do objectively horrible things, go to town. But it's like, what I see is jealousy or
I just saw like the new phrase for clout posting or something. Or
sure, yeah. And again, clout has become just such a joke. The concept of it, the word has just become such a joke.
Holy shit! Is that rain? Oh god, dang! Do you hear that rain?
That is some rain. Indeed,
damn. Yes. Sorry. Go on.
No, that's okay. I miss rain.
Oh, yeah, I get it every fucking day. A couple times a day. Take it, please.
I lived in Seattle. You don't have to tell me.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Clout. Here's the thing about clout. I see, and you see, and we all see. There are how many thousands of people who are on Twitter every day, and all they do is tweet what they hope will be the viral tweet for that day.
Yeah.
And it isn't, because most tweets aren't that funny. But if that's how you're spending your time, I would encourage you to look inward and ask yourself, what hole are you trying to fill with that? And the same is true for if you are spending your time just going in and just absolutely not letting people off the hook, whether they're big famous people or everyday people or some people in between. If all you're doing is just glomming on to a thread or to someone and saying, oh, well, but you said this last time and you're a hypocrite and you're a liar. What? And I say this as somebody who lives with mental illness. What is it that is really at play here? Is there something going on with you that needs to be addressed? And if so, this is not the way to address it. Or are you just a jerk? And if the answer is you're just a jerk, get the hell out of my face and get the hell out of everybody's face, because I ain't got the patience for it. My block button speed, even before I was a content creator, was lightning. I don't have the patience for it. I don't tolerate bigotry. I don't tolerate racism. I don't tolerate homophobia. I don't tolerate transphobia. I don't tolerate ableism. I don't tolerate any of it, because if you are not capable of being a decent human being, I don't want you anywhere near me. I don't want to see what you have to say. And I don't want you to see what I have to say. And I don't care. Like, I've had people like, why'd you block me? I'm like, because you were an asshole and I don't want you anywhere near me. And they're like, oh. I'm like, because when the answer is oh, then it's like, then they know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, social media is, I was able to delete Facebook once I stopped working at the gym because I didn't need it anymore. And my God, that felt like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. Twitter is a necessary evil for me, much as it is for you.
Yeah.
It's where our people are. And from a business perspective, we've kind of got to be there. At the same time, I've cultivated a lot of really great relationships that started on Twitter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so there's good to be taken with the bad. I think
I've met some lifelong friends doing this content creation,
Absolutely. And so I think the trick is knowing when enough is enough and when you have to put the app down and step away from it for the day, and knowing when enough is enough and this person or these people just need to be sent to the corner. Knowing when enough is enough and when that thing you were about to tweet probably isn't the best thing for you to tweet, or that thing that you did tweet that was a bad idea, you should just go ahead and delete it. That's another thing, is that good people make dumb mistakes on Twitter all the time. When you have an L, take the L. Delete the thing, apologize, say I was wrong, I didn't know, I had bad information, I made a mistake, I was an idiot, whatever, and move on. And don't do the thing where you obviously fuck up and then the replies are 17 pages of why really it's okay that you fucked up. No, you just fucked up. Take the loss, move on. I think that's another thing too, is I've seen this where good, decent people just get caught in a bad day and they say something that they wish they could take back. And the good thing about Twitter is you can delete the evidence. Not if somebody screenshotted it, but if it's just a minor thing where you just said something shitty that you didn't mean to be shitty, just delete it and be done with it. Like, there's never a hill to die on Twitter. Like, it's
pretty much
the phrase is this the hill you want to die on? The hill you want to die on is not on Twitter, I promise. So don't die on any hills on Twitter. It's just it's not that,
it's not worth it.
That ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, it's not worth it. And like I said, just learn to put it down. Learn to put it down. Walk away.
Absolutely.
And it's, like I said, it's done wonders, because I think we've all been there. Like you said, you just get hooked on it, finding the dumb drama, and not just Magic Twitter exactly. Just Twitter in general. Yeah, in everything, and seeing dumb drama, and then you just got to realize, like, there's more important shit. Like, I could go be playing a video game right now, or I could go be reading a book, or I could be, I don't know, doing the dishes, something like that. Just something else.
I could be exercising. I could be making dinner.
Exactly.
Yes, there's any number. And that's the thing is at a certain point, it's on each of us to say, I have to stop doing this to myself, because I really don't have to be here right now.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's having that self-awareness and the willpower to say, I am putting this down and I will come back to it when I am ready.
So, and that's what I've been loving about my podcast. And after I finally gotten over that mental hurdle of, just like everybody has aspirations. Like, everyone secretly wants to make it big, right? When doing this, and everybody wants to get that upper echelon. And it took me a long time to finally try to get over that. And I'm at a point now where it's like, I wrote down all the goals I wanted to accomplish for this podcast. There's just one missing that I really want to do. I've gotten everything else that I've always wanted to do for the podcast. My last goal is to get day 9 on this show. I'd love to get, and I probably talk nothing but StarCraft besides Magic. I mean, I feel like that's another important thing with content creation is, having these small goals as well too. Like, hey, maybe you aim to get 10 views or 10 subscribers or 10 downloads, stuff like that. And
just like
realistic.
Exactly goes right back to what we were talking about fitness. It's about having realistic goals done at a realistic pace and not allowing yourself to get fixated on an outcome that is not in your hands. Because ultimately, you can do all the right things. You can spend all the money on all the things and all the time, and it can look so slick. And if people don't like it for whatever reason, then what have you done? So instead, and then you're disappointed because, like, well, I did this so I could be up here. Yeah. And it's like, that's not how it works. You do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it. And if the stars align for you, you end up here. But that's it. You can't just, it's not a fast food order. You can't just walk up to the counter of content creation and be like, I'd like one celebrity, please. Like, that's not how That's not
Yeah.
how it works. Like, I had like 3 orders of clout. Like, we don't get to do that. We have to just, that's like, I'm a guy who writes 1,500 words a week and occasionally shows up on podcasts and on streams playing Commander. And I'm super okay with that. Could I go be an arena streamer grinder if I wanted to? Yes. I have zero interest in that. None.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. And so I'm not going to do it, because even if that were to lead to something for me, I wouldn't enjoy it.
You don't enjoy it. Yeah.
And I've defeated the whole purpose. So, again, it's all, and this is why I love that I've come to develop sort of a circle of friends in this community from all across the spectrum. Like, people who are way up here, and people who are here with me, and people who are just starting out, and people who are not ever going to create themselves. They just support and engage with creators, because every one of those voices is valid, and every one of those voices has something different to contribute to my life and to my, to this ecosystem. That's why Olivia can coexist alongside everybody else who's doing EDH streaming. That's why, an Ali Eldrazi can coexist alongside every other arena streamer. That's why, I can coexist alongside a Louis Scott Vargas and the articles he writes. There's room for everyone and everything, and everybody gets to have a place. And there's a lot of beauty in that. And there's a lot of, when you're able to accept it and work under that, under that premise, there's a lot of really cool stuff to be found. What I've found really disappointing is when people who, they get that one little taste of being a big deal, and then all of a sudden they're like the gif of the woman, rolling up the car window.
Yeah, they're the gift of God.
Yeah, that's because man, that humbling experience is going to come, and good luck with all that. But that's the other thing, is that the people I respect the most are people. Some of them have virtually no influence. Some of them exert massive influence in this community. All of them are themselves. They are who they are. They are not acting. There are no characters. They are them, and they are true to that. And that's what I respect. And that's what I would never, ever, 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 ever want to compromise. If you tell me that I could, get on the Mothership homepage every single day if I just wrote articles about, man, isn't it how great Wizards is, and man, aren't they the best company? Like, I wouldn't do it, like, because I don't believe that to be true. Like, I'm broke.
I'm still surprised.
I won't do for money. So, like, that's
No, I'm surprised I've ever been on the front page for them or even gotten preview cards, because damn, they must have not listened to some of my early episodes, especially when I like trash talk the hell out of Magic Online. Oh man.
And that's something that here's the deal. And I think this year is the year that a lot of people have kind of come to this realization, and so for some it's been more painful than others. I've known this all along. Wizards of the Coast is not our friends. They're a multinational, multi-million-dollar corporation inside a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation. And they care about exactly one thing, and that is our money. And so we have not just the ability, but the duty and the obligation to let them know when they fucked up.
Oh yeah. And and I didn't want to make it seem like,
I know you're not. Yeah. I know you're not. I'm expressing that for everyone, because everyone's like, I don't want to make Wizards mad, because then I want. Look, Wizards doesn't know who the fuck I am. Yeah, I'm not getting a preview card, and I'm fine with it, because that's not why I do this.
Yeah, like, and I don't want to make it seem like I never talk bad about Wizards or anything. It's just, it's when I mentioned that earlier before with Twitter, it's just like, I don't have the, what's the word? The want to put it out there for like negativity against Wizards. Even though I may have my opinions on it, I know that I'll just start either getting backlash or just start getting people going. It's like, I don't want to deal with it. You know?
And that means you're doing Twitter the way that works for you.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I never, if I tweet something, I am prepared for what's going to come. And that's why I delete far more tweets than I actually tweet. Like, I delete the draft far more than I actually hit tweet.
Yeah.
Because, you have to do that little risk reward calculations. Like, is this the hill I want to die on? And, but at the same time, there are things that every now and again, like yes, take the fetch lands again, for example. We get it. Okay. We get it. The reserve list. Yes, we get it. Like, we're really not doing
I don't
again.
need to talk about that 5 million more times. Yeah.
No, I really don't. But when it's, hey, Wizards, you got called out in a major way for problems with your hiring and retention of Black, Indigenous people of color.
Oh, yeah, I'll fucking talk about that all day long.
You promised you were going to do something about it. What have you done?
They've done shit.
We have to do that.
Have you ever read Glassdoor reviews for their company?
Oh,
It's
to be fair, that's every company. And that's
that's every company.
That's another part of the problem. But again, what we as the community at large tend to do is romanticize Wizards of the Coast because it has these friendly faces.
No.
Because it has these friendly faces and these people that we like and that make this game that we love. We think of it as like Care Bear Land, and it's
so many people romanticize game companies. That's a big problem.
I've driven by that building I don't know how many times. It is a glass office building in Renton, Washington, and ain't nothing fancy about Renton, Washington. Let me tell you, that is a business, and no matter how genial a face you put on it, it's a business. They're going to do things. They're going to throw us bones every now and again. But when they take away MSRP, that's not to benefit us.
Nope.
When they start selling direct to the consumer on Amazon, that's not to benefit us. When they start selling singles directly in the form of secret layers, that's not to benefit us.
Nope.
Everything is done to benefit them.
And not just
and that's why I think it's the whole, we hear all the time, vote with your wallet. It's the truth. There is exactly one language that companies like this understand, and it is money. And so I think the frustrating thing for me is when in the very same breath, people will go from fuck Wizards, this is awful, how can you do this? This is just wrong, you need to do better. And then in 2 hours later, oh man, look at this spoiler for Double Masters. This is so cool, I'm buying a case.
They're not going to learn their lesson or anything.
No, they are laughing at you.
Yeah,
they're laughing at you, and that's how they get to keep getting away with bad stuff, is because at the end of the day, they win.
And it's funny you mentioned that for Magic, because they're starting to do the same shit for D&D as well too.
Yep.
So
a lot of chickens are coming home to roost, and they have to, and that is part of the life cycle of a business. The things have actions, and inactions have consequences. And Wizards is, look, there are a lot of really great people working for Wizards. I mentioned Scott Larrabee.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I've met Gavin Verhey once. Everyone I know who knows him thinks the world of him.
Yeah.
And everyone I've met who works at Wizards, I think the world of. But again, that company, that entity, has no love for us at all. They love our money. Mm-hmm. And every decision that is made with that and only that in mind. And that's the perspective we have to keep when we're deciding what's the bigger outrage. Is it that fetch lands haven't been reprinted? Or is it that people of different races and sexual identities and genders can't seem to get a fair shake working there? Which is the bigger deal? I know the answer. Magic players don't always know the answer, and that's the frustrating thing about Twitter.
Yeah, I get a sense that a lot of them have never really worked in corporate world, so they don't really understand a lot of why a lot of that shit happens. A lot of them, and it's and understanding as I do that we are two white guys.
I've had just about enough of white people accepting apologies that aren't meant for them, and white people saying, "Oh, well, Wizards is going to do better. See, then get off their backs." No, that's not good enough for the people that this affects. So therefore, it should not be good enough for anybody. And this is the year that I think a lot of white people in this country have had to look themselves in the mirror and say, "Man, I don't really get to have an opinion about that." And we don't.
No,
like
you're right.
It's not on us. What it is on us to do is to, again, not accept apologies that aren't for us, and not defend indefensible actions. It's to be as supportive as we can without inadvertently traumatizing people more.
Yeah, and listening to people and understanding what they're going
and
through,
being empathetic, and again, being decent human beings. It's not that hard, folks. Be good people. I hate that has to be said in the year of our Lord 2020,
and how it can be politicized too, which is just even more frustrating. It's
absolutely,
God. I don't know what the demographics are like in Reno, like if it's more Democratic or Republican, but goddamn, my county is like so heavy Republican where wearing a mask is politicized, and I literally got dirty looks the other day for going in a gas station and wearing a mask. No one else was wearing a mask, and then I'm just like, and I'll tell you this straight up, I hate wearing a fucking mask, right? If I didn't, if I didn't have to wear a mask, I mean, technically I know I don't have to. It's not mandated by my county. It's not mandated by the state of Florida. So I technically don't have to.
Which is a problem, but
yeah, technically I don't have to, but I still do because one, I want to keep myself and my family safe, and two, I don't want to be a complete asshole and possibly pass it on to someone. Like I haven't seen my mom since the beginning of this pandemic, and she's a nurse, and God, I fucking miss her, and because she's working with COVID patients every fucking day, and I wish I could go hug her right now, but I can't. And it's very tough. And but just the fact that people are giving me damn dirty ass looks, I'm like, wanting to say like, you all motherfuckers, like, you kidding me right now? And
things like this should not be political.
But it is, and that's what's so dumb.
And
it's frustrating.
To me, it's heartbreaking that this is what this country has come to the point that it is that you will have people who say this will save lives, and other people look them in the eyes and say no, it won't, or I don't care,
or
is really what it is.
You're infringing on my rights.
Look, history is riddled with infringements upon our rights for good reasons. I think it's not a coincidence that the crossover, the Venn diagram of people who thought the Patriot Act was a good idea and the people who think that masks are an infringement of their rights is a circle.
Oh man.
Okay.
Oh God. I hope not. That's scary though.
So, and why do we think that is? So, you know, again, I have zero patience, tolerance, or room in my life to engage with people who are hateful, with people who think that there are anyone in this world who they are better than, with people who think that they get to tell me or anybody else how that the way we live our lives is wrong or inferior. I will not debate you, bro. I will if somebody's like, I don't understand this, talk me through it. I'll talk to anybody who's willing to have that conversation. I will not engage with assholes. I will block you and I will move on with my day, and I promise we'll both be happier for it. And that's true in Magic, that's true in fitness, it's true in any context. You know, the block button is a magical, wonderful thing, and people don't use it enough. And you know, I still have Catholic guilt that'll never go away. It's like, oh, I feel really bad. No, not anymore. No, I don't give a shit. I will block anybody at any time. I don't care. And I, again, at the end of the day, just be human beings. Just be human beings and treat each other like human beings. And it's really not hard. And I don't understand why it has to be, but that's all I ask. None of us is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have blind spots. I get that. But just be a decent person.
God, it's sad. It's just the state of this country, like just how even basic human rights for certain populations is becoming political hot button issues, and it's just it's frustrating, right? It's you like to think that, hey, we're past all the civil rights movement, and
we are absolutely not.
And
we are absolutely not.
Oh no, I'm not saying we aren't, but you'd like to think that, but it's then you just get blind to what other people are experiencing, and
well, we what I'd like to think is that we should be past it by now. Instead, the people who will look you in the eye and tell you that racism doesn't exist anymore are the biggest racists on the planet, because that somehow just one of those two things somehow add up. I don't know how, but look, this country is a mess when it comes to the way people treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. None of this has to happen. We've had centuries to get better at this, and and in some ways we've slid backwards in the last 2-3 years, and that's really disheartening. And I can't imagine what it's like to be some people living in this country today, wondering if they're going to be killed or harassed or fired or not allowed to see a loved one because of the color of their skin or because of their gender or because of their sexuality or whatever. I'm a gay man, and I get off really fucking lucky because I'm a white guy, and I am constantly smacked in the face with that privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And it kills me that privilege exists. It shouldn't. It's the 21st century. This shouldn't be a thing that we're still having to do. But vote.
God, I know. And
to put a bow on that.
Yeah, and not just national elections too. Vote for your state and local too, though, because sometimes local is even more important than state and national, depending on where you live.
Learn who is running for your school board. Learn who is running for your city council.
Dear God, yes.
For your county elected position, for judges. Learn who's running for sheriff. Learn who's running for the state house, the state senate. Learn who's running for Congress. The down ballot races are infinitely more important than the presidential race. I will say that, because
not to say that the president isn't important, but in terms of what's going to impact you on a day-to-day basis, local and state.
The most real governing happens at the state and local level.
Yeah.
So, don't just look at the ballot and pick the letter that matches the one you like. Do the research. Go look up your voter guide. Your local newspapers and TV stations will do profiles on these candidates in most cases for the more prominent races. Go to their websites, Google their names, see if they've been arrested.
Yeah, that makes a lot of perfect sense.
And this goes for, and let me be clear, this goes for any party or independent. Like, know who you're voting for and be confident that you're voting for the person who represents your values and who's going to do what you need them to do, and then vote for them.
Yeah, because
but just vote. Just vote. It's never mattered more than it does right now.
That is one of the great things is, about being an American, is being able to vote. That's one of the things I've always touted. Like, I've been telling my kids, like, as soon as you turn 18, you're going to go register to vote because you're gonna want to, and all that. And I've always tried to follow politics as much as I can. And I like how you made a good point of, it doesn't matter the letter next to their name, because as much as I'm a registered Democrat, but that doesn't mean every single Democrat in my local and state area are the best, right?
No,
It's
no, and that's the thing about, look, yes, this is a partisan system of government,
yeah,
and with that comes partisan politics, right? But no matter what party you're registered with, or whether you're registered independent, don't ever
blindly
assume anything, because God knows I'm a registered Democrat as well. I've been disappointed by Democrats that I voted for more than once, and I wish I could go back and change it. Believe it or not, there may be somebody from the other party, the opposition party, who actually more closely aligns with your values, but you wouldn't have known that if you didn't take the time
if you
to
didn't
look.
do the research. So a good example of that is, so my county just had local elections for this year, and two of the judges, one Democrat, one Republican, I was reading a lot of the stuff about him. The Democrat judge, like they didn't talk about anything that they wanted to do. They were just going on about their life history. It's like, so, but what are you going to do if you become a judge, right? The Republican judge told him, like, all right, they were the incumbent. Like, this is what I've done. This is what I plan on doing. And this is how I'm going to do it. So who did I vote for? Voted for the Republican, because they have a plan. And a lot of it did sound good. Like, hey, they want to be able to make the county, oh God, I don't know the official judge term, but basically, like, if you needed, say you have to go to court for like a non-criminal case or something like that, they would make sure, depending on the set amount for it, the county would pay the court fees for it, right? For something. And I'm just like, hey, that's a good idea, right?
That's a great idea, yeah.
Like, hey, I don't have to go pay whatever the official term was it.
Yeah.
But then, see, that's a good example. If I had voted just blind Democrat, from everything I read about the other judge, they told me nothing about them. I know their life story, but I don't know what they're going to do should they become a judge.
And I hope we've learned our lesson by now about electing people to government office who don't stand for anything and just want the gig. Because
reality star.
He's not the only one. Like, make no mistake, he's not the only one. And this absolutely cuts both ways.
Oh yeah.
But he's the poster child for sure.
Oh God. I mean, let's be honest. That 2016 election, it was a shit show from start to finish. On the Democrat side, it was Hillary stole that away from Bernie. Because I wanted Bernie to win so bad. I voted for him in the primary, and he, God, it's just like, and I feel like the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot again with Joe Biden. He just feels so unlikable. But, for the most part with Joe Biden, as long as he's not talking too much and he just lets Trump keep talking, makes himself look a lot better. I mean, I feel like the pick with Kamala Harris was a good choice.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, whether you're from, no matter where you fall on the spectrum of your party, whatever party that is, you're always going to feel like somebody is either too radical or too middle of the road for your liking. I understand that there are people who are not terribly excited about Joe Biden. Sure. I understand that there are Republicans who don't necessarily love Donald Trump, but they'll vote for him because they'd rather have him than someone who's diametrically opposed to their viewpoints.
Yeah.
And the same is true on the Democratic side. Like, here's the deal. I get that Joe Biden was nobody's dream candidate, but he's what we got. And it's entirely possible that this country doesn't survive another 4 years with Donald Trump in the White House. And that's what this election's about. So no matter how hard you got to bite your lip, you fill out that ballot, and you do the thing. Because not voting as we found out 4 years ago, is exactly the same as voting for Donald Trump. And
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, that's right, because there was like low record turnout during that, wasn't there? Back in 2016.
And I think a lot of that is that he exploited the rift between Bernie people and Hillary people.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
He fueled that fire, and the Bernie people stayed home in a lot of places, and that made a big difference. And we can't afford to do that again. We cannot afford to do that again. We cannot afford to. I would argue it's even more important that we flip the Senate and keep the House, because that way, even if he does fall ass backward into a win, he loses Congress and he doesn't have a blank check anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say, because not just voting for Senate and House, but also again in 2 years, in 2022, we're going to have to do the same thing. And that's going to be, and those are always the elections where there's super low turnout.
Yep.
And people
midterms matter. And again, it's we saw what happened 2 years ago.
Yep.
People showed up and the House flipped. And
the House flipped. The Senate is still Republican, right?
The Senate hasn't yet, but again, if people who say they want things to change get off their ass and vote, then things will change.
Yeah. And
I think that's an important thing. You don't get to be on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram howling about this and that and this and that, and then either not be bothered to vote or say, well, I wish it wasn't Joe Biden, so I'm not going to vote for him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, that's just not good enough this year. Like, literally, our lives are on the line.
And
he's already killed 200,000 of us, almost.
God, and it's crazy that
I, for one, would like that to stop.
And it's crazy that we're like almost seeing this happening, right? Like before Trump and all that, God, and it's sad to say this, but Trump makes George W. Bush look like an amazing president, and I fucking hated W. Like he. Just what he did,
because when you compare them, yes, but
yeah, you really have to go back in time and think about the era of that too, because that was right after 9/11, and
sure,
and we had no idea what the fuck was going on.
When it comes back to when we first got onto this track, it was with this. We saw what happened when we elected somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And what did we think was going to happen? And I think what happened in 2016 was a lot of, there's no way he's going to win. There's no way.
Oh yeah, I was definitely one of those. Like I think all of us were. I will admit I thought it was hilarious. Like I liked watching those early Republican debates, because it's like it was a joke, because you're like thinking there's no way he's gonna get past this, right? And it's hilarious the way he's picking on the people, because you never saw that in politics ever before that.
Yep.
Right? It was always a very bunch of straight-laced people who are all respectful, and the worst thing they'd call someone is, "Oh, you're a liar," and I never said that type thing.
Right.
None of this shit that Trump did. And I think that probably fueled a lot of his support, that no one saw what he did, and people loved it.
Yep. It was that resonated with a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have
given a crap.
Yep. And
it's still resonating with a lot of people too, and that's what's scary.
Well, and that's look, there's a whole lot of people who are going to have to reckon with the fact that they sold their souls to him, and it's not going to go well whenever they get where they think they're going.
Yeah,
they're actually going somewhere else. But that's just me.
No, but I guess let's talk about something a little bit happier. let's talk about some Magic. I mean, this is a Magic podcast, right?
Sure, I guess we should get into it a little bit.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about fitness, politics, content creation, which is about Magic a little bit.
Sure.
So you like Commander. You said you've been playing
Yes.
for about 4 years.
Yes.
Some Spitfire questions here.
Sure.
What kind of mage are you?
Every time I'm asked this, I change my answer.
That's okay. Or you can say, like, what are your favorite colors, that you love playing?
Yeah, it's I would say white, blue, and green, probably in that order. And it's very, very close.
Bant? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So are you excited about what their redesign is for white? For how they're trying to help white be better, stronger?
Yes, I think white needs the help, and I think that I have my signature deck. The one people know me for is a mono white hot Daxos Blessed by the Sun.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is my I am that. So that mono white has gotten a lot of new toys, and it needs them.
Yeah.
I think. We can sit here and wax nostalgic about the color pie, but the reality is this is a 28-year-old game, 27-year-old game. And
change needs to happen.
If this is a game that's going to live on the way that we all hope that it will, then some things need to, the scales need rebalanced, right? So, I think white deserves all the help it's getting and more. If for no other reason that I'm really just tired of all the mono white jokes, because we get it,
or playing Boros as a joke. I'm like,
right, we get it, we got it.
No, the thing that I think about, because I played the game for a long time. Just to give a little history of what I've been playing. I started in Urza Saga when I was a kid.
Oh wow, okay.
Played until about Nemesis, and then stopped until Kamigawa came out, and I played Kamigawa until the last Ravnica set with Dissension, I think it was. Stopped again, and then I picked it up again when M13 came out, and I've been playing ever since. Haven't stopped, and then been doing this podcast, and God, it's just like, fuck, it's never gonna end. No, it's not that I want it to end, but it's like, it's one of those things, I never thought I'd be doing it this long, but that's beside the point. But it feels like the past couple of years, obviously we know Simic has become really strong, but I also feel like green has almost become like the new blue the past couple of years. Because I can remember...
I don't think there's any question that green is the best color for Commander.
Yeah, and it's because
both on its own and in combination with other things.
Because I cannot recall... green has always been good at ramping, right? That's always been its thing, but I cannot recall, and, people in comments or anybody who sends me emails on this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not remember the amount of card draw green has ever had.
Green is now good at everything.
Yes.
Green is good at card draw. Green is good at ramp. Green is good at removal. Green is good at attack. Green is good at everything. And it's bad at nothing. That's the problem. Green has no holes anymore.
It used to be...
There's no vulnerabilities.
It used to be ramp and play big beasties. That was about it with green.
And there were ways to deal with that.
And it's not that green could never draw cards. It's just wasn't ever its big primary focus. Now it's, hey, let's draw 50 cards because I've got a 50-50 out, And I'm hopeful for the redesign, or not, I don't even really want to call it redesign. I don't know what you would call it. The help that white needs to get or something. I just hope it doesn't become like the new green. Like that.
I don't think it will.
You don't think it will?
I don't think they'll ever admit it, but I think they know they've worked green, and I think they know they've got to dial it back. That's Wizards. They never admit a mistake like that, but
except that one time when they made Splinter Twin combo in Aether Revolt.
Well, yes. That the one time. But yeah, I don't think there's any danger of that. I think what white needs and what I hope it gets is for it to be a color that can stand on its own.
Yes.
And for it to be a color that can have its own, still have its own things that it does better than the other colors, but also the ability to at least do a little of what the other colors do.
Do you feel like card draw is the big thing it's lacking?
I think card advantage. And that comes typically when we talk about card advantage, it's card draw. But I think white tends to be very slow, just in the sense that there's a lot of really great 1 and 2 drops in white, but all your best stuff is 7, 8, 9, and white doesn't ramp nearly the way that green or black or blue ramp.
Sometimes even red, depending.
Sometimes even red, yeah. I mean, red's got tons of ways to get cheaty mana, and white really doesn't. So you can be waiting an awfully long time to be able to play your big beater, while the green player across the table, it's turn 3 and they're playing an 8 drop, and you're like, oh, awesome. So
that kind of happened to me today.
So exactly. so card draw, but I think also, white doesn't, blue's got more ways to look through a deck than white does. Green has a hell of a lot more ways. Obviously, black does, because that's black's biggest thing.
Yeah.
But white doesn't have an awful lot of ways to go get stuff that isn't prohibitively expensive, like an Academy Rector or like an Enlightened Tutor and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just mainly enchantments it looks for that I can think of,
and
right?
occasionally artifacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now again, that's not to say I'm not saying print Vampiric Tutor.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is, even if it's not that specific thing, do something to help white keep pace. Because if a white deck falls behind, it tends to be out. Whereas a blue deck or a green deck or a black deck can come back. And again, all of that is magnified when you add green to another combination versus you adding white. How often do you see, an Azorius does one thing, Boros does one thing, Selesnya does one thing, Orzhov does one thing, but how often do you see you can have a deck archetype of any kind, add green to it, and all you've done is make that better?
Yeah, you're right.
I would like to see white have a little bit of that ability, right? Where you can use white as a utility color and not have it be, okay, well, it's Orzhov, so it's one of these 3 things because that's all it can be. Because it's, again, it's a 27-year-old game. Like, let's go. Like, there's still plenty of room for exploration and growth in how this game is played, and especially in this format where this is what we do, is we make things work that aren't supposed to work. Like, give us more tools to do that. I think.
No, you make a lot of good points, and seeing that one card that they spoiled for Commander Legends, that white Keeper the Cord, I think, or something. That gets me a little excited, for what it can do, and I'm excited to see what else they have up their sleeve for it. Like I said, I just hope I hope they learn their lesson with green, like you said. Hope they don't bork.
And they know where
white.
to stop. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it's so you mentioned you like playing Bant colors, essentially. What are some of your favorite commanders that you like playing?
So Daxos is my dude, and I'm for better or worse, I'm married to that deck for the rest of my life now.
Is that your first EDH deck?
What's that?
Was that your first one, or
no?
Oh, okay.
No. It was when Theros Beyond Death was spoiled. I was like, hey, that Daxos is hot. I'm gonna build that deck, and that became a meme, and people were like, you have to build this. I'm like, do I really? And I've refined it to the point where it's actually a pretty good deck. But no, it's not my first. My other pet deck is a mono blue deck, and it's Sun Quan, Lord of Wu from Portal 3 Kingdoms, which I
which one is that?
He is I call him Horsey Man because he's the one that gives everybody horsemanship.
Oh,
and
okay.
don't know if you know this, but horsemanship is not a common keyword ability. So very often it's just, okay, now everybody gets through and all kinds of crazy things happen. So that's probably my other kind of pet deck. I had a Crewfix deck in Simic a long time ago that I really liked, but it was maybe a little bit too much. I had a Brago deck in Azorius that was way too much. I had to take that apart. I was
You
losing
took apart
friends.
your Crewfix?
Took apart Crewfix. That was more necessity. I had to sell my cards at the time.
Oh yeah, that's completely understandable.
I might rebuild it someday. But Brago, I took apart because I was about to get shanked, and I didn't want that.
Crewfix is my all-time favorite commander. Like he was my first and always going to be my favorite.
There's just so much fun to be had with just dumping all of that mana and being like, I'm going to do X is 150. Like it's. I'll never forget. I won a game with Crewfix where if I passed the turn, I was dead.
Yeah.
So I had like 35 cards in my hand, and
as you should, as Crewfix,
as you should. And one of them was a lab man, so I cast the lab man, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna cast Blue Sun Zenith, and X's. And I tapped everything I had. Like I did the mana because I had like a doubling cube and all kinds of stuff. Like I did everything just so, and X ended up being 55, or I think it was 55. And there were 54 cards in my library.
Ooh, nice.
And if I had done the math wrong, even a little bit, I would have lost the game. And
that's awesome.
That was it. I was done. Like that was my only shot. And so it was just like it was John and Livy sitting there they're like, oh my god, count it. And I'm like, huh? And I'm like tapping and I'm like, huh? And I'm like drawing because I'm like, I think I know how many cards are in my library because I was counting like my hand and my graveyard and everything, but I'm like, and they're just sitting there, like, they're just like leaning in, and I was just like, I got it. And they're like, okay, great, let's go to lunch. I'm like, okay, great, awesome. But that was, I love Crewfix. Crewfix is great fun.
My MVP in my Crewfix deck now, it is Eldrazi base, and I've got a lot of ways to cheat stuff out. But my MVP of that deck, who's been in there since the beginning, is Hydra Broodmaster. Freaking,
that's a good card.
My favorite time that I ever won was like I had 70 something mana saved up. I dumped it all into Hydra Broodmaster and made 30s and all this time just won. That was the best way. He's my MVP.
That's a fun card. Yeah, for sure.
So Brago you had to take apart because you wanted to have friends.
Yep.
I've got a Grand Arbiter deck. So
the thing about Brago, and I think Grand Arbiter is kind of in the same category, they're not strong enough to really be CEDH.
No.
But they're also way too strong for the average table.
Yeah.
And for what most people want to get out of.
Yeah.
And that is where it's in that no man's land where like, well, I can't really just say, well, I'm going to make this my competitive deck because it's not really going to win. It's just going to make people hate me. And I don't play Commander for people to hate me. So I was just like, as much fun as it was to mill everybody out on turn 3, and as much fun as it was to skip everybody's combat step every turn because of Stonehorn Dignitary and make 38 golems with
that sounds great
and flying. As fun as that was, it really wasn't, and I needed to put him to bed. So long may he reign, but not for me. I'm not feeling it.
At my community, they get mad at me whenever I play Crewfix, because it's dumb and stupid how it goes off, but it's especially, and I feel like this is always important, and I've seen how Olivia talks about it too, is talking about the power level talking to your table on what you all want to agree on playing, because there's been too many times, especially before the pandemic, going to an LGS and then you'd have some freaking pub stomper, and that's pretty much one of the reasons why I built Grand Arbiter was because
so you had that just
to stop people, and then also stop my freaking friends because they'd love to build those stupid combo decks, and I'm all like no, stop, counter. But it's that I gotta say, ever since this pandemic, I've been playing more EDH than ever. Before I'd only ever play like maybe once a month if I'm lucky. Now it's at least minimum twice a week, like 2 to 3 games a night, or 2 to 3 games that night whenever I play. And but yeah. So what else do you have?
We should play sometime.
Heck yeah. Either
not for nothing.
Either come on my stream or just play off stream or whatever. I'm
down for whatever.
I stream every Tuesday night and Saturday morning, and then maybe once in a while a random stream. Well, my Saturday morning would be pretty early for you, because I start at 8 a.m. So that might be.
So I
might be a little early.
One of my good friends in this community is Jim from the Spike Feeders, and he every once in a while will play at what is hella early my time on Saturday morning. He's like, hey, do you want to get up at 5 a.m. and play with us? I'm like, I love you. No, no, I don't.
I've just got a bunch of friends like over in the UK, Magic players, and that's the best time for us to all play Saturday mornings, because it's like 11, 12 o'clock for them, and so. But maybe like a Tuesday evening or something. Yeah, for sure, man.
You know where to find me. And same thing too. Like I'm not one of those people who's like so thirsty for internet points that like I only play on a stream. Like I'll have just as much fun. Truly, if it means that I have to be on for the game, then I'm super cool with that too. Where I just get to
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
So, but anyway,
you get to curse way more. To curse way.
Oh yes, absolutely. So you were asking what else I have. So I've got I just built last weekend. I just built a Mazarek deck because I got it.
Who's that?
Mazarek, Crawl Death Priest. He's the Golgari one where every time a player sacrifices another permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So basically,
I probably know who you're talking. I just can't picture it right now.
He was in the same commander precon as Marin, I believe.
Oh, okay. That was what, 2015?
One of the sub-commanders from the Marin deck.
Yeah, I think that was.
And then he
Commander
was reprinted
2015.
and then he was reprinted in Double Masters. And so when I was looking for my Double Master singles to buy, I was like, I need a new deck, and this looks intriguing. So it's purely a cards I had lying around build, but basically it's just make lots of creatures, sacrifice lots of creatures, sacrifice lots of treasures. There's like an investigate sub theme in there because as I said, Shadows block was my first block, and that was
such a good limited format too. Shadows.
I really wish that investigate could be a thing, and I get that it kind of is in blue, but we're not in blue. We want to do it in something else. So
you can do it in green with Tireless Tracker, and that's about it.
Yes, and Tireless Tracker is in the deck,
which pretty much is blue.
Exactly. So so that's my newest one. I've got a Cold Daxos, the Orzhov Daxos, which is Enchantress. It's exactly what you think it
is.
Wait,
the Orzhov Daxos.
And then
was that one of the ones that was printed in the Commander precons or something?
Yes, that's you get an experience counter every time you cast an enchantment.
Oh yeah. Okay. I remember that one.
You make the spirits that are XX, where X is your experience.
I don't see that commander very often. That one.
So that was my first deck because that was the first precon I bought, and so Scott Larrabee designed Daxos, and so when I met him for the first time, we were just talking about stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I have a Daxos deck." He's like, "Which one?" I'm like, "White black." He's like, "I made that." I'm like, "What?" So
and for people who don't know, I'm sorry, who's Scott Larrabee for people who may not know?
Scott Larrabee is on the Commander Rules Committee, and he also is vice president of something fancy at Wizards. I don't know what he does, but he does design, but I think he's also I think it might be organized play. I think is his domain.
Okay.
But he's a wonderful human being. So he designed the Orzhov Daxos from Commander 2015, and so I got to play that against him, playing his version of it, which naturally
Nice.
it's much better than mine. And so
He probably has a lot
got
more
my ass
cards.
whooped. He really does. So that was really cool. And then I have a Riku of Two Reflections deck,
Nice.
which is
I've been told to build that because I don't have a single teamer commander.
Riku is fun because Riku can be whatever you want it to be. Like you can go hard on creating copies of your creatures. You can go hard on the spell slinger part of it. You can go like pure burn with it. You can go mill with it. Don't do mill's mean.
Mill.
But you could do mill with
Really?
it.
In teamer
you
colors?
could do.
Dang.
Blue has lots of mill spells. You copy
Yeah,
them
that's
3 or
true.
4 times.
Yeah, you're right.
You can do you can use instant and sorcery spells that copy your opponent's creatures and creatures that copy clone creatures and make copies of them.
gross.
I won a game with that deck because I made 23 Niv Mizzets on the table.
Only 23.
And I could have had more, but I stopped. And if I had gone to combat on that turn, I would have had like 140 some. But made 23 Niv Mizzets, drew 1
Nice.
card, and killed everybody at the table, including somebody who was at 150 life. That felt good.
Damn. That's amazing.
Because
that sounds
23
awesome.
Niv Mizzets all see each other. So
Wait,
they
which
all
Niv
see-
Mizzet
you know,
was
when
it?
you- Niv Mizzet Perun.
Oh, okay,
They
okay.
all see each other. So you cast 1 instant, which means you get the trigger, which means they all see each other drawing cards, and whenever this happens, it's just like it's like a
Oh,
fireworks
yeah,
display.
that's right, because you're going to draw a card per instant or sorcery. That's right.
Exactly. Well, 1 instant or sorcery, you draw a card off each Niv Mizzet.
Yeah,
Each
yeah.
card draw triggers the damage.
That's right,
on
that's right.
Each Niv Mizzet. So 23 card draws that trigger
23 per Niv Mizzet.
4,000 damage or something like that. So
It's 23 times 23, essentially, you're doing?
or whatever it is. Yeah, 400 damage or something like that. Because
20.
so
529 damage.
there we go. So
That's pretty
but
cool.
That's the cool thing about Riku is that you can, in those colors you can make anything, you can make nothing, you can make everything, and it'll all work with him. It's a fun commander to play with.
That's awesome.
For sure.
Oh man, my latest one that I built is I should have played it on stream with on Command Fest with Olivia, but I thought we were all gonna be doing a little bit lower power level, so I just brought my mono green deck. I just recently built a Captain Sisay Shrines deck, and I don't know if you saw when she was on stream how she was playing, where she basically milled herself out with her
I did not see it, but I heard it because I was in the next room. So
what commander was it?
It was
it was her enchantment deck. Why am I drawing a blank?
Atraxa.
Atraxa. That's right.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd play my Captain Sisay deck, because the other night I was playing off stream with it and I managed to pull an Olivia. I'll call it pulling an Olivia, where I basically milled myself out because I had like 5 million Enchantress and Eidolons out and just kept drawing enchantments after enchantments. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah. And the thing, and what I love about Livy is that she gets such a kick out of that. It's like,
oh yeah,
she's
it
not,
was
like, salty.
hilarious.
She's she's talking about it like yesterday to somebody. Like that's she and I are of like mind on a lot of things as it relates to Magic, but especially that, like, what this format is supposed to be. Like, this is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be able to play it however you want, and no one gets to tell you how to play, how to build your decks.
Yeah.
There's no right number of lands, there's no right number of single target removal spells. I don't care how many videos somebody does about it. That doesn't mean there's ever an objective right answer. The answer is, how many lands do you want in there? Great, that's the right answer.
Oh yeah, and that's what I always tell people.
I will die on that hill.
No, I 100% agree, because like when I do a deck tech on one of my commander decks, is I tell them this is what I do because this is what I like, and and it's not perfect because there's only a few, like there's probably like 2 or 3 commander decks that I've purposely built to be as optimized as possible. All my other ones, like because I have like 24 in total, that like 90% of them I just build them. I don't give a shit, if there's obviously a good card that comes out and I really want it, I'll get it. But for the most part, I'm not going to make it optimized. I'm not going to spend money for fetch lands and dual lands in it. I don't care about that.
Sure.
No.
And let's be really honest. Fetches and duels aren't that good in Commander.
How dare you? How dare you?
They're good, but they're not that good. Everybody calm down.
My Evolving Wilds is great in Commander, okay? Obviously, you're talking about...
I have no response to that. That was good. That was really good, and that was well done. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like my Daxos deck, for example. So it's a life gain deck, right? So you would think that, well, Daxos is in there, so naturally there's a Heliod and Ballista combo, right? Nope. Naturally, Aetherflux Reservoir is going to be in there, right? Nope. Naturally, Felidar Sovereign's in there, right? I don't want to win that way. I think those are boring ass win cons. For me, I don't begrudge anybody who wants to play them, but for me, there's nothing less exciting than being like, well, it's turn 3 and I've got 65 life, so you're dead.
Yeah.
I've got no interest in that. So,
that's like my Narset deck. Whenever I pull out Narset Enlightened Master, everybody automatically assumes it's the infinite turns,
right.
Cast 5 million free spells. Nope, it's basically Monk Tribal with all my favorite Narset Planeswalkers in it, because I tried to make it as flavorful as possible, and I've won with it, but that's because I had a bunch of monks out, pumped them up with prowess like 5 times, and swung and win. And that's fun. I loved it.
Another example from Livy. Livy's got a Liliana tribal deck because Lily's her favorite character. It's the first character she ever cosplayed. So it's a Lily tribal deck. But Lily, or Baby Lily from Origins is a fairly popular commander, right? And it's a discard or a sacrifice or a graveyard deck, right? This is literally a deck filled with nothing but every Liliana Planeswalker, even the crappy ones. Every card that has Liliana in the name, cards that have Liliana in the flavor text, or the art, or whatever, and 27 lands. I'm not kidding.
Damn, only 27?
She cuts lands to add in new Lily cards.
Damn.
She doesn't care. It's not a good deck, and she doesn't care because it's hers and she loves it and she has fun playing it and she wins with it every once in a while.
And that's all that matters. She has fun with it.
That's this format.
I get frustrated.
This is not a pissing contest.
I will say I get frustrated sometimes with people where I will put out a deck list or something, or if I'm not asking for better cards in a deck, or like I'm doing a deck tech or sharing my list out and I'm not asking for help for it, you get the 5 million people that are saying, oh, well, why don't you have this card in it or this card, that card? Because I don't want to, right? Or I got a Jace the Mind Sculptor because I've wanted one in my Grand Arbiter deck forever, right? Jace the Mind Sculptor is not the best Planeswalker in Grand Arbiter. There's way better ones. It's not the best Planeswalker in EDH, but I wanted one because I want to be able to brainstorm for free, And
absolutely.
I feel I
get that all the time with Daxos. It's like, why don't you have Aether? And not even that. It's like, well, put this on. I'm like, why is Bazri Ket in there? Because he's cute.
Yeah, you like the card,
and he fits.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. We're not splitting the atom here. It's a children's game for children that we're playing as adults.
Yeah, exactly.
Lion men and cat snakes and dragon things and stuff, like everybody calm it the hell down. Like,
No,
it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's that ultra competitive mindset sometimes that is frustrating.
It's
Yeah.
not, to me, it's not that, because look, when we sit down with our fun meme pet decks, we would prefer winning over not winning, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I don't
of
think
course.
it's
Or maybe the optimizers.
I wrote about this in one of my articles about a month and a half ago. It's not a competitive thing. It's I'm smarter than you. I know how you should build your deck better than you do thing. That can fuck all the way off. Competition, is one thing. I mean, it's a game with a winner more often than not, right? So I get that, but I don't like that I don't, when there's condescension or when there's just patronization of other players.
Yeah.
No, I keep that out of my format. Save that for modern and vintage, and keep it away from me, because that's the opposite of what this format's about.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I think that is a good place to end it here. We're almost at 2.5 hours here.
I agree. I cannot believe it's time flies.
I know. Like I said, this whole day has gone crazy fast. And
right to the end.
And I keep looking at OBS. I don't want you to make think like I'm looking at something else, because it's one of those things. Yeah. Like I'm having to constantly like make sure it's still recording and all that. And
yes, I'm familiar with the fickle mistress that is OBS. So.
But
no worries there.
So let's end it off where people can find you. If they want to reach out to you, where they can find your articles and all that.
Easiest place is going to be Twitter. It's at DavieKUMD, DAVIEKUMD, pronounced DavieKUMD. There is no other way to pronounce that. Okay. Listen. Okay. In my defense, I didn't realize that till like 8 years after I had the username, and it's too late now. So.
So that's a username you've had for a while then.
That's since I joined Twitter
because
my email address I went to the University of Maryland, and my email address was daviek@umd.edu. So I just put the two together, smushed them together for Twitter. Didn't think anything of it. And then like 2 years ago, somebody's like, "Do you realize what that says?" And I'm like, "Well, I do now." So, but it's too late. So that's the best place. I tweet about my articles. I tweet about fitness. My DMs are always open there. So if you've got questions about fitness, you got questions about wanting to build subpar mono white demigod decks, whatever it is, come say hello. You're never bothering me. There are no dumb questions. I'm always happy to talk to people about whatever you guys want to talk about. So I mean, I have a Twitch channel, but I barely use it. And so I don't even feel like I want to give that. I don't want to do that. The other thing, as far as cool stuff, if you go to coolstuffinc.com to the articles page and search for my name, just search for Dave Kosten will pop up. That's me. But again, I tweet about it. My stuff comes out every Friday morning. So
nice.
You can be sure that as soon as I see it posted on the page, I tweet it, because I need that instant validation from the people. So that's pretty much it.
Sweet. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I had a blast.
You're welcome. It was fun talking about, God, a lot of shit. It was fun.
We covered a lot of ground, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, listening, and all that, and have a great night. Hey everybody, hope you really enjoyed that interview. I had a great time talking with Davie there. I was looking at the time and I'm like, oh crap, this is already over 2 hours. And I'm like, let's end it. It's like, I could have kept going. It's like, yeah, just really, really good guy, and really make sure you follow him and in his articles. He's a pretty good writer about EDH stuff, and if you're not a fan of EDH, you should read him anyway, because he's a good writer. And hey, maybe you could try out EDH and see if you like it or not. Anyways, but thank you again, Davie, for coming on, and it was a great time talking with you. And thank you all for listening, watching out there. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, I guess that's about it. All right, so Have a good one, everyone.